How many Cavs fans do I have in the house? We're back in the finals again. The Lord has been faithful to us. Come on, somebody. And I see some Warriors shirts in our midst, and we will have an altar call at the end of service, and we'll be praying for your minds to be renewed, because that is ridiculous. But here in this house, we are Cavs fans, and we're excited about being in the finals. So how many of you are excited for game one tomorrow night? I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited, man. I can't wait. Can't wait. When you have LeBron on your team, let's just say you always have a chance. And we have a small one. But nonetheless, we have a chance. Anyways, we're going to get right into it. We've been in a series. How many of you were here with us last week at all? A few of you, maybe. You were here with us last week. We've been in a series called Occupy All Streets. But I took this opportunity, and this could fit within the series, but I took this opportunity to use a Cavs title, Whatever It Takes, tonight. And I just want to give a shout out to a few people really quickly. First of all, Molly, who was singing, leading worship tonight, belting it out, straight up belting it out. Did you know that Molly just graduated high school? And I started with Molly, like I was her junior high pastor when she was in 6th grade. So I'm just super proud of her, who she's becoming, and her phenomenal voice. My goodness, she can belt it out, can she not? Amazing. And also, I want to shout out my dude, because I kind of called him out while announcements were going on and told him to be quiet. Kyle Allball, why don't you stand to your feet, please? Stand to your feet. Stand to your feet. This is my friend Kyle. And I just want to tell you, Kyle is one of the best guys that you will ever meet, a phenomenal leader here at the U. And ladies, he's also single. And from what I heard, he's 110% ready to mingle. So get his number after service. I'm just kidding, kind of. Wow, we better bring this back in really quick, or this could go downhill very quickly. I want to speak to you tonight just for a few moments from the title, Whatever It Takes. If you're looking for an alternate title, you can write For the Culture. For the Culture. We're going to talk about culture tonight. Can we pray? Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be here at the U. God, as we get into your word and as we talk about these things that represent our culture that you've called us to have as a church and here at the U, we thank you that you would embed on our hearts what you want us to take from this message. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Everybody that agreed said, amen. For the culture, whatever it takes. For the culture, whatever it takes. I want to talk to you just about a few things, because I believe that God has done some truly amazing things since we've started the U about 4 years ago. It's been amazing to see everything that he's done, and you sitting in the seat that you're in is the result of a lot of prayer, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears from a lot of leaders, not just myself, but a lot of leaders who just decided that they would give their life towards something bigger than themselves. And we believe here at the U that the greatest use of your life is to spend it on something that'll outlast it. And so there's nothing better, we believe, to be a part of than the local church and what God is doing. Because how many of you know that the local church is still the hope of the world? That the local church is what God is doing? Jesus said, I'm gonna build my church and the gates of hell won't prevail against it. If Jesus is building it, then I wanna be a part of it. How many of you are with me? I want to be a part of it. We talked a little bit about that last week, how being a part of the local church is the most important thing that you can do. It is the most important cause that you can be a part of. We talked about how every person matters to God, whether God currently matters to them or not. So we passionately pursue people because we know that they are the heart of Jesus. And how many of you know that everywhere that you go, you're not just there on accident, but you're there with purpose? That's the great thing that we have as Jesus followers, is we can know every single day of our lives is done with purpose. So a little recap of the series, but I'm gonna get into tonight some DNA things about our culture here at the U. And some of you are like, culture? What are you talking about? See, culture is what basically organizations, churches are made of. But so few people understand culture. I study culture, I love culture. I think any place is only as good as its culture. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about that. And the first thing that I want you to write down tonight is that people feel excellence. I'm gonna go quick because I know you wanna get pizza, and this is an end of the year party. because some of you got through a semester of college that you never thought you would get through, and you're just praising the Lord all the way through. And so we're gonna have pizza because of it. Some of you just graduated and you're like, praise the Lord, I am done, but what am I gonna do next? And we're gonna have pizza until we figure it out, you know what I mean? So tonight is just a night to celebrate and stop for a minute and just acknowledge what God has done. God has done some amazing things through the U over this past year. But I believe it's because a group of leaders have understood that excellence is something that people can feel. In fact, that's a quote by Walt Disney. How many of you love Disney? How many of you are like, about it? Do I have any Disney fans in the house? There's nobody screaming. So I take it there's no like Disney fanatics, but there's some people that are like, Disney's okay. Like, it's okay. But you're not like sold on it. But anyways, Jillian and I, we aren't really Disney people. You know what I mean? We've watched the movies, but both of us are like amusement parks and not really. Long lines and not really. And so we both have just always thought like, we'd never want to go to Disney, right? We'd never want to like do that. But until Jillian got the opportunity to go to LA last month, and she went to LA to go to Color Conference, and her and Steph, her friend, had an extra day there. And so they decided, let's go to Disney. Jillian came back a changed person. She came back with the t-shirt and she's like, babe, I don't know, I love Disney. I was like, girl, you look good. She's like, no, wait, I love Disney. Like, I love Disney. I love it. Like, we've got to go back. It's amazing. I love it. I'm thinking, who are you? And what did you do with my wife? She doesn't, Jillian, if you know her, she does not like amusement parks. She does not like crowds. She does not like lines. But for some odd reason, she came back from Disney, loving Disney and wanting to go back. Why is that? Because they understand something that I believe the church needs to get a hold of. And that's that excellence is something that people can feel. Excellence is something that people can feel. Everything that we do as a church, we realize communicates something. That's why if you're on a team here, we tell you like, hey, from the moment that people walk in, we want them to feel a certain way. We want them to have a certain perspective. They say that people make a determination on whether they will come back or not within the first 30 to 90 seconds that they're in a place. And you're like, I'm not even involved in the U. Why are you telling me this? I'm speaking to the future. I believe that you're called to be a part of the church. Whether you're a part of the U or a part of another part of Faith Family, you're called to be a part of the church. If God has called you here, he's placed something in you that we need. He's got a gift in you that we need you to serve with. And so I believe that I'm speaking to the future a little bit right now. So allow me to be futuristic for a moment and just tell you that the first 30 to 90 seconds that somebody walks in the doors, they make a determination on whether they'll ever come back or not. That's why we have greeters that are out here that like, we need to make sure that they're on their A game. We have greeters out here and we're constantly trying to make sure that we do it a little bit better than we did the week before because we know that within that first 30 to 90 seconds, people are deciding how they feel about this place and whether they want to come back. So every week we know the stakes are high. That's why excellence isn't optional. Excellence is essential. And so the definition of excellence is simply this. And if you're taking notes, I'd love for you to write this down. Excellence is the gap between average and exceptional. It's the ability to exceed expectations and consistently deliver superior quality. Excellence, it's the difference between average and exceptional. One definition, the definition of to excel, that phrase, is simply to be above average. So we're trying to just simply be above average. We're trying to challenge the status quo every single week that we come together. Some of you are like, why am I hearing this? Because I believe that you're called to be a part of it. I believe that you're called not just to sit in a seat, but you're called to serve. And so that's why we're doing a summer message on serving and whatever it takes and for the culture, because we're creating a culture here, whether you know it or not. And when I first started this ministry, one of the things I would talk about all the time is like, hey, we want to have coffee in the foyers because we want people to smell coffee when they come in. We want to appeal to their five senses. Some of you are like, that's manipulative. No, that's intentional. And there's a difference because people, it's not even what they can put their finger on. It's what they can't that makes them love a place that causes them to come back. That's why my wife loved Disney, because everything, the cleanliness of the place, to the way that they package everything, to the music and the vibes, to everything. the people dressed up, everything speaks to something, and that something makes you feel excellence. And when you feel excellence in a place, you will always want to come back. I believe that God has called us here at the U to make church irresistible to young adults, to where they don't even know why they want to come back. They might not even believe in God at all, but they're like, I've got to go there because it's the coolest place I've ever been. I'm not even really sure why, but the people are so nice. The coffee tastes great. It's clean, like, you know what I mean? So we pay attention to those details because I believe that God is calling us to make church irresistible to a young adult. And so I think excellence can be those things, but how many of you know that the Bible also tells us to be excellent in love? That God will show us a way of excellency in our love walk, that there are things of excellence. So we can be excellent in our conduct, we can be excellent in our lifestyle, we can be excellent in what we put our hands to. I believe that an excellent spirit is something that God is calling each and every one of us to have, because an excellent spirit, if we have that collectively and you have it individually, not only will we excel in everything that we do, but you will excel at your job, you'll excel at school, everywhere that you go, you will rise to the top. In fact, in Daniel chapter 6, in verse 3, it says this, then this Daniel, he became distinguished above all other presidents and satraps. Who knows what that means? Because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king planned to set him over the entire kingdom. See, excellence and an excellent spirit, it'll cause you to rise to the top. That's why I believe wholeheartedly that when you get engaged and involved here at the U, you will naturally, it will just become part of your DNA to have an excellent spirit. When I think about this, I think about our band. Like, I literally think about these guys and I think, man, we've got mostly high school and college kids playing in our band. High school and college students, I'm sorry, they're not kids, they're students. High school and college students playing in our band. And literally, they play like tighter together and like better than a lot of adult bands that I've heard in other churches. That's not a knock on other churches, but it is a testament to the excellence and the standard and the bar that we set. Because we don't settle for mediocre. It's not okay to just stay okay. That's why it's vitally important that if you're gonna be on our platforms, you have to open yourself up to critique and correction. And so a lot of people think they want the spotlight, but they wouldn't want the correction that comes in the shadows because they wouldn't be able to swallow their pride and take a nice douse of humility. So the humility that you need to serve in the spot that God's calling you to now is the exact humility that you're gonna need later when God calls you to another spot. See, that's why I think serving in the shadows before the spotlight is so vitally important, because God's trying to build and produce something in you called humility that's gonna help you when he does try to elevate you to where you will be teachable. You'll not only have an excellent spirit, you'll have a teachable spirit. You'll be open to correction. You'll be open to being coached, and that's vitally important. But I think of our production teams, how like we have high school and college students running production, and they run it really well. I mean, sure, we have our mishaps every now and then, but who doesn't, you know? And, but it's great. They do such a phenomenal job. I think of our leaders that are here greeting and ushering and being on time every single week. And I think, man, you guys are something that I want to celebrate at the end of the school year. This is an end of the school year celebration because, man, I want to celebrate you guys. Thank you for all that you do. You truly do an amazing, amazing job. Pat Riley, who was a legendary basketball coach, now he does some stuff for the Heat, and not a big deal at all. Won a couple championships. He said this. He said that excellence is the gradual result of always striving to be better. And I love that definition because the question that we ask ourselves here at the U, and I want you to write this question down because it's a question that you should ask yourself in every area of your life, is simply this. Is there a better way to, and then put a blank, fill in the blank. You can fill in the blank with whatever. So we're constantly asking ourselves, is there a better way to greet people as they walk in? Is there a better way to do the welcome center? Is there a better way to do the connect corner? Is there a better way to do worship? Is there a better way to do a service, do a worship experience? How do we do it better? Because when you're asking that question, what you're saying is, I'm not settling for average, I'm not settling for the status quo, but I want to get better. I want to strive for excellence. If you'll do this in your own life, it'll make a huge, huge difference. So this is a DNA thing for us here at the U, and I believe it's vitally important. In Proverbs 22, verse 29, which Proverbs is the book of wisdom, and there's a lot of wisdom right here in this verse. It says this, it says, do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. I believe that anytime that you are excellent in whatever it is that you're doing, that God always elevates those who are excellent. You can write that down. God always elevates those who are excellent, who excel in what they're doing, who strive to be better, who fight against the status quo. And so again, if God is calling you to be a part of this ministry, which I believe if you've been sitting and you're fed here, where you're fed, you need to be planted. And so if God's calling you here, this is just part of our DNA. So you're getting a glimpse at what we hold true to as our values, that we hold true to excellence because we believe that it's vitally important. Excellence means you're on time all the time. Excellence means that you put your best foot forward. Excellence means that you always go the extra mile. I love the quote, if you don't like traffic, go the extra mile, because it's never crowded. We believe here at the U that we're called to go the extra mile. We're called to do what other people aren't doing. We're called to go ahead and keep moving forward. The second thing is simply this, that passion is contagious. We talk a lot about passion here at the U, and that's because I believe that passion is grossly underrated. You show me somebody that's passionate about whatever it is that they're doing, I'll show you somebody that attracts people to whatever it is that they're doing. If you're passionate, you'll attract people. If you're passionate about what we do here at the U, it will attract people. And we're all about attracting people. Why? Because we believe that people matter to God, whether God matters to them or not. So we've forgotten about what's secondary and we keep what's primary, that we're trying to reach people who are far from God. Now that we've encountered God, we've encountered his love, we've encountered his grace, we've encountered his mercy and his goodness and his peace, we want other people too. We don't want to waste another day making it about what it's not about. We want people to encounter Jesus. And so I believe wholeheartedly that passionate people are the ones that change the world. How do you find a passionate person? How do you identify a passionate person? These three things. I believe there may be more, but these are three things that I've found in doing ministry for a little while. This is how you spot a passionate person. Number one, they put their whole heart into it. They're all in. They do whatever it takes. They don't care. They're willing to do anything. They literally will do whatever it takes. They're the same people who will pick up trash off the floor, and they're not the type of people who say, well, that's not my role, that's not my job. They see everything as their job. They're just trying to fill gaps. They're literally there to make everything better. Their whole heart is in it. Have you ever done something wholeheartedly with your whole heart? Most of us maybe have, but I know for sure that all of us have done something half-heartedly, and like the result is a lot different. The result is a lot different. I remember what I did half-heartedly was I ran cross-country half-heartedly, and very half-heartedly, like maybe 1/4 heartedly. And in practices, my times would be like, we would run through the woods, and so my times would be like a lot faster than the race. And I'm just gonna be honest, and this is gonna be therapeutic because I'm getting this out. I was a basketball player. I was not a cross-country runner. So I played basketball. I had no interest in running cross-country. My coach made me. And so I ran, but I didn't actually run. And so in races, there was nowhere that you could hide, and there were no alternate routes. You know where I'm going with this. But when you're running in the woods, you can always find a way to shortcut. And so I would literally find ways to shortcut. I would hide behind trees. I would do whatever it took to not do what I was supposed to do. And so literally they'd be like, man, nobody would be able to find me for like 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden I'd pop out like with everybody, just like, hey guys, how's it going? They're like, where were you? I was like, don't worry about it, man. And they're like, did you run? Were you behind us that whole time? Oh yeah, bro. I was just catching my breath a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Just like cutting through trees and stuff, because there was always a shortcut. Some of you in your life, you've always taken the shortcut. You've never been the person that's been all into something. Can I encourage you that it's time to be all in? It's time to stop dipping your toe in this thing called church, in this God thing that he's trying to do in your life and what he's trying to do in and through you. But it's time to jump all in. It's time to stop being on the sidelines of it, because I believe passionate people, again, are the ones that change the world, and they're the ones that are all in. Number two, they don't allow anything to distract them from the main thing. That's huge. Because the enemy, the devil, he deals in distractions. He wants nothing more than for you to stay distracted your entire life. He would love for you to spend all of your young adult years distracted. Distracted by this relationship. Distracted by that relationship. Distracted by the drama. How many people have literally not gotten involved in church because of drama? Can I encourage you with something? If drama always follows you and the problem is never you, if the problem is never you in general, then you have a problem. Because I've always found that no matter what the situation is, I can always look at myself and make an adjustment. And I've always found that if I'm looking for a cop-out, I can always find one. So I believe wholeheartedly that nobody should be able to push you out of the place that God's put you in. If people can push you out, you'll spend your whole life out. But if you make a determination, nobody's gonna push me from where God has placed me, you'll live a life of purpose. I remember being in college, and I remember going to Kent Stark and going for business. And I remember one time, I was doing an internship at the church, and somebody talked to me really rudely, really talked down to me, really rude tone and stuff like that. Don't try to figure out who it is, but they just talked really rudely to me. We were at this weekend event. I remember one of my friends that was still in high school, I just graduated and was in college. He looked at me, he's like, "Are you really gonna let him talk to you that way? Are you serious? Are you really gonna let him?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "What? Bro, that was so disrespectful. You're literally not gonna say anything?" I said, "No." I said, "I signed up for this. God called me to be here." I said, "I'm gonna submit to his leadership, whether I feel like he's treating me right or not. I'm not here to decide that, but I am here to be accountable for me, and I'm just gonna be here to serve." There should be nobody, no leader, no person that can push you out of where God's placed you. It doesn't matter the circumstances. If you're gonna circumstantially follow the path and choose the path that God's placed you on, then you'll always be moved and you'll always be pushed out by circumstances. But if you're gonna be like, "Man, I'm gonna go by the voice of God, where he's calling me, I will stay. Where he calls me, I will go." When you do that and you make a decision, no person will push me out of where God's placed me, that's when you can truly live a life of purpose. That's when you'll truly be effective. I believe wholeheartedly that we've got to stop as a generation being so thin-skinned and start to get thick skin about ourselves that says, "I'm not gonna move from where God's called me to be. I don't care what happens. I don't care who says what. I don't care who talks to me or looks at me weird. I don't care. I'm staying planted." A lot of times, those conflicts can be solved through conversation, but we're so inapt to have conversation. I'm not gonna get into that. That's not what I'm talking about tonight, but man, you'd be surprised how many things are so simply solved through just a simple conversation. It's like, they're treating me bad. Well, have you talked to them about it? Have you mentioned it to them? Because sometimes when people come off a certain way, it's because they're just as insecure as you are, and they're uncomfortable in their own skin just like you are. And sometimes talking it out can make things a lot better. Anyways, moving right along, don't let anything distract you from the main thing. I believe that sometimes it can be a relationship. You're like, "Oh, you're gonna go there." Yeah, I am. Relationships in our life, like a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever it might be, they can be huge distractions and deterrents from what God's called us to. And can I just encourage you that if God isn't first in your life, within your relationship, if you're not keeping God first, if you're not placing good boundaries around it, any relationship without God first isn't built for the long haul. It's built to be temporary. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but I am saying that to be real. We've got to have relationships that are founded on Jesus and that are founded on trust, and that he's our primary and that he's the one filling the void and the other person is just adding value to what God is already doing in our lives. Because if they're trying to fill a void that they can't fill, that only God can fill, you are setting that relationship up to fail, and it's going to be temporary. But I believe that that you can have success and sustainable long-term relationships if they're built and they're founded on Jesus and they have the proper boundaries and you're planted in the church. Can I ask you, does the person that you're dating or thinking about dating push you closer to God or pull you further away? Do they push you closer to being in your calling, or do they pull you further away? And you can answer it really quickly by asking yourself, are they causing me to compromise? Are they causing me to do things that I shouldn't be doing? You're like, oh man, this got thick. I thought we were just talking about culture. Hashtag for the culture. Are they causing you to compromise? Because if they are, then it might be good to at least remove yourself from that for a season and both of you just focus on God. Guys, I want to encourage you, rather than going from a relationship to relationship, I want to encourage you, rather from putting all of your confidence in that dating relationship, man, take 6 months and just seek God with everything you've got and tell me your life isn't better. Tell me you're not more fulfilled. Tell me that you don't feel like your life has a sense of purpose, because you might be looking to a relationship to fill something that only Jesus can fill. I believe that true leaders, true people of passion, they never let anything distract them from the main thing. If there is something in your life right now that is distracting you from the main thing, you might have to remove that thing for a while until you can get the main thing back to being the main thing. What is the main thing? Jesus. What is his priority? His church. What is he building? His church. What is he all about? People. Who is he trying to reach? The lost. So if those aren't your priorities, then you might need to reprioritize your life. It sounds hard, but in essence, it's not that hard. It sounds difficult, but in essence, it's the key to all fulfillment. The third thing, moving right along, is they bring energy, they bring excitement, they bring enthusiasm every single day. Nobody has to pump these people up. Nobody has to pump these people up. They're just already excited. And some of you are like, man, why energy, excitement, enthusiasm every day? Yeah, because you remind yourself daily of what Jesus has done in your life. And you're excited about what he's gonna do that day. You can always tell the people who have an active, authentic relationship with Jesus because they're always excited and enthusiastic about the future. I believe that tomorrow is gonna be better than today was. And I believe the best is yet to come for the you. Why? Because I've spent time in the presence of God and I've got his perspective on my life, on this ministry, and I believe that the best is yet to come. If you don't believe that the best is yet to come for your life, you might need to get in God's presence and get his perspective so that you can have energy and excitement and enthusiasm. This isn't something that we muster up. This is a response to everything that Jesus has done. Some of you might need to just remind yourself daily that Jesus saved you, that he went to a cross, but he didn't stay there, that he went into a grave, but he didn't stay there, that he rose from the dead, and when he rose up and won the victory, he brought you into that place of victory as well. Some of you might need to just remind yourself of your place, where Jesus has placed you. I love this quote. It says, in life, the prize goes to the person, not who's the smartest or the most talented. It goes to the person with the most passion. I believe wholeheartedly the prize goes to the passionate. Are you passionate? Are you passionate about what we do here at the U? Are you passionate about God? Are you passionate about his church? Are you passionate about it? It's so vitally important that we answer that question. Because I believe that vision, which we have a vision, go, grow, give. We're showing the city who Jesus is. We're going out and reaching people. Go, grow, give. That's our vision here at the church. We go to reach people far from God, grow in our relationship with God, and give of our lives to glorify God. That's our vision. Vision is the roadmap, if you will. Passion is the fuel, and discipline is the vehicle. If you're taking notes, I'd love you to write that down. That vision is the roadmap, passion is the fuel, and discipline is the vehicle. Why is that so important? Because you can have vision and you can have passion, but with no discipline, it doesn't go anywhere. Because discipline is the vehicle. Discipline's the vehicle. What do I mean? I believe that great leaders, they do consistently what others only do occasionally. That's what discipline looks like. Great leaders do consistently what other people do occasionally. Others think about it, and talk about it, but leaders do it, and they do it frequently. They do it consistently. It's part of their routine. It's part of their routine. Discipline is the vehicle. I believe that consistency in our lives, in your life, in my life, consistency is key. How many of you know that? That consistency is key. What do I mean by that? Consistency in your devotion life. Consistency in getting into the presence of God. Here at the U, we practice First 15, where we get 15 minutes and we get into worship. We pray, we read our Bibles for 15 minutes. We dedicate the first 15 minutes of every day to Jesus. And if you're like me, maybe you do 15 minutes in prayer and worship in the morning, but you do your Bible reading at night. I think it's fine as long as you're giving a place and you're meditating on whatever it is you read and trying to apply it to your life. I think you're fine. I think certain seasons will find you in different places, but do what works for you, but just give God's presence a place in your life. It's vitally important. Be consistent in that. Be consistent in excellence. Be consistent in passion. Be consistent in these things. Great leaders do consistently what others only do occasionally. We said when we started the U that the culture, we wanted it to be three things. We wanted it to be a developmental culture. We wanted it to be a relational culture. We didn't want cliques. We wanted people to be relational and engage in relationships. That's part of the reason we do small groups and things like that. And we wanted it to be an invite culture because we wanted it to be irresistible. We wanted people to be excited about coming to church. We wanted people to be excited about engaging in the presence of God. So we wanted to have an invite culture where people were excited to invite their friends. And so here's the thing. Here's what I'm asking you, each and every one of you. We've been in this series, Occupy All Streets. We're talking about whatever it takes. We're talking about culture, doing it for the culture. Here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to embody it. I'm asking you to start to really strive for excellence, to be a person of passion, to be looking, if you're involved with us currently, to be looking for the next person to take your spot, next man up. That's developmental. To be more relational. Even if you're not involved, be more relational. Step outside of your shell of the 5 people that you know to start to invite people. And so these 3 things kind of define what I believe each of us, God is calling us to when it comes to culture. Can you write these 3 things down and then I'm gonna close. So the first thing is see the culture with clarity. See the culture with clarity. See the culture of excellence, the culture of passion, the culture that can't wait to invite people. See the culture with clarity. Number 2, own the culture with conviction. See, the culture is only as good as those who own it with conviction. We need leaders who are carriers of the culture, who carry it with conviction. As somebody who speaks to culture all the time and tries to teach culture, I believe wholeheartedly that culture, it's as much taught, but it's also caught. It's just as much caught as it is taught. It's both. It's not just taught, it's also caught. And how can you tell the people who are gonna be culture carriers as a leader? You can tell by the people who lean in to what you're saying. To when you say something, they start to lean in a little bit. And by lean in, I don't mean that you're leaning forward in your chair. Some of you are like starting to lean forward. It's okay, don't lean forward, that's weird. But they lean into it. What does that mean? They start to get into it. They're really on the edge of their seat and they're excited about it. And then they come and they start to actually do it. That's how you can tell. See, you don't try to convince people to carry culture. You just try to identify who's gonna do it. And I believe that right now, under the sound of my voice, God is calling some of you to be culture carriers for the U. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna be at Mount Union and you're gonna be that culture carrier. You're gonna be at Kent Stark and you're gonna be that culture carrier. You're gonna be at Akron U and be that culture carrier. Wherever you work, you'll be that culture carrier. Where you go, the culture goes. When you come in, the culture rises. The culture has a bar. The bar is excellence. The bar is passion. Because you're setting the model. You're setting the example for everyone else who comes in. Because if the culture isn't carried, then the culture won't be continued. It'll phase out. But if the culture is carried, then we know that God's able to do something special because it is continued with consistency. The third thing is build the culture through consistency. Build it through consistency. How do you build culture? By consistently doing what other people only occasionally do. Here at the U, we will consistently ask ourselves, is there a better way to? And then we'll fill in the blank with whatever it is. We will consistently challenge the status quo. We will consistently keep trying to get better at what we do because we know that there is a world out there that is lost, that is dying, that is broken, that needs to know that, hey, we as the church, we care about it. And we want to make an experience that is irresistible. And we want to do whatever it takes. And we want to do it for the culture. We will build culture. We will be culture carriers, and we're going to build it. We're going to build this thing. There's something about special moves of God where you see culture created that you don't really see other places. I believe the U is called to be that place. I literally believe that the U is going to be that hub that like businesses send young adults that they think have promise to, and they're like, you need to go to the U and catch the culture there, because then you'll know how to be excellent at this job. I truly believe that. You're like, that sounds crazy. I know. I believe that Jesus said some things that sounded pretty crazy too, that everybody looked at him like, can that actually happen? Yes, I believe the church is and has always been called to set the bar of what normal looks like, of what excellent looks like, of what passionate looks like. The church wasn't meant to take a backseat and learn from all the secular organizations. The church was meant to be at the forefront of all of those organizations as a beacon of hope and a beacon of light, knowing that we know Jesus, who is the most excellent one ever to walk the earth, the most passionate one ever to walk the earth. So if we're following Jesus, we're in essence following excellence. If we're following Jesus, we're in essence following the embodiment of passion. That if we're following Jesus, we're gonna have trouble living one day of our lives without a sense of purpose. We're gonna constantly live knowing why we're here and knowing that we've been sent. That's my prayer for us at the U. That this would be us. That this would be the culture. That we would be culture carriers. I believe right now God's stirring on some of your hearts. You're called to be a culture carrier. You're called to be the next person that's gonna carry the culture. Man, we have some great people who over the years have carried that culture for us. I look around the room, I look at Devin, who has been a culture carrier since literally day one of the U, volunteered so much of his time. I look at people like Kate McCallan, who've been with us since the beginning. I look at people all across this room, and I could name so many more that have been culture carriers that have helped us get to this point. But we can't stop here. God has called us to reach so many more people. You saw the statistics last week, 55,000 people just enrolled in school in our age bracket in a 20-mile radius. That means that there's over 100,000 18 to 25-year-olds in this region, just in our area. We can't get satisfied with 200 to 250 coming on a Wednesday night. I'm not satisfied. I won't stop until everybody knows, at least has a chance to encounter the love, the grace, and the greatness of our God.